I would like to welcome you on our YouTube channel. I decided to run a few reviews of the equipment I already have or I have borrowed for tests or shots or something like that. The first review I'm going to make, it's a new Sigma. It's 105mm lens with f1.4. It's an amazing and but still pretty heavy lens. I have it for testing for I don't know, about 2 weeks. So I take it with me for several shootings. I also went to shoot with this lens, even though it's a little bit shorter, to shoot also whitewater canoeing during the World Cup here in Bratislava. Otherwise, I also make a few portraits with it and also to take it into some real action, like some conferences and some events. So let's go through the lens itself. As you can see, it's quite big. Also the front element, it's quite big. Also a little bit heavy, but you can get used to it. I also have my 300 2.8mm lens, so I'm used to the heavy lenses. But for some normal shooters that are used to something smaller and lighter, this could be a problem. When you attach it on Canon EOS R, for example, it's kind of heavy, it's falling into the front, so you just have to get used to this lens itself, mainly the size and the weight. When we go through the shooting part with this lens, the autofocus is really fast. You can just depend on it and you don't need to worry about the focusing system. It has one small problem that's the same with all Sigma lenses. If you are using them with a DSLR, you have to calibrate the lens, you can attach the USB dock, and you have to you have to record your calibration data. Also, you can adjust basically everything you need. When you are working with mirrorless system, as I am, I was shooting with this lens just on my EOS R. You don't have to worry about the sharpness or anything else. I can walk you through several of my pictures and to show you I can show you the sharpness and everything else. At the end, when I compare the lens itself, I had a lot of lenses for testing and for reviews. This is one of the best lenses I had. It's really sharp. It's also during the wide open, also in the corners. But the only thing, it's heavy, and I can shoot with that all day long. But if you are not so strong or a little bit tinier, you have to decide if the weight wouldn't make a problem, or I don't know how to call it. Shooting with this lens, for example, all day long wedding, it will be really hardcore. So let's walk through the pictures. I take the lens with me for shooting one yoga session for a client of mine. This was shot wide open on f1.4, and you can see the sharpness on this girl's eyes, also on her wrist. It's not cropped out. Also, when you compare it to the autofocus, I was just focusing on the yoga mat because one of my clients wanted that. And the overall image of this that came from this lens was quite satisfactory for me. The only thing, the bokeh of the Sigma lens is different than from my Canon lens. You can see it here that the autofocus part it's different than the one you get from Canon lenses. I also try to shoot against the sun, just so you can see how it's work, and you can see anything, almost anything. So even though the lens itself is quite bigger, that's just because they want to eliminate all the parts that you get from like aberration and everything else. Probably that's the reason why the lens itself is so big. Let's go to the next one. This one was from a conference, shot on 0.1.6, and we just need to load it. You can see that it's pretty sharp. Okay, and now let's go to some sport shooting with this. This man was just walking. It's shot on f1.4. Here you can see it, so you can believe me, you can trust me with that. And I'm normally using different software for editing pictures, so, and you can see that it's a little bit on his ears, but still the eyes are quite sharp. And this one was, I was really surprised by the fastest of this lens. This kayaker was shot at 1.4, and we are still able to see it's loading. So let's see. Okay, let's go to 100%. I think it's pretty sharp for this kind of. Let's load it to 200%, and voila, shot on 1.4. So I think you can use it as a sport lens also, because the autofocus is really fast and really accurate, so you can use it. Okay, let's go through a portrait. This is unedited JPEG of my girlfriend. We shot it this morning, and you can see that her eyelashes are just fine and perfect in focus. Let's go to let's look at another one. I'm not sure which I was focusing on. Okay, so, and it's shot still at 1.8. You can see it was shot against the window, and you can't see any chromatic aberration on the background. So for me it's optical. This lens is perfect, just perfect, amazing. Also the autofocus, this one is also shot at 1.4, and you can see that the out of focus from her eyes. Here it is at 100% zoom, so 1:1. You can see all the details, and you can see that her nose is a little bit out of focus, and her ears are just amazingly out of focus. And you can even tell that this was shot in my kitchen. Here on the right side there's my fridge, and here is, I don't know what white doors. So this lens is perfect when you want to step something up from your image. For shooting weddings, for portrait sessions. I also made several portraits with this lens for one of my clients. So as a portrait lens, it's one of the best, and you can still use it for your everyday shootings, for events, etc, etc. So the only bad thing about this lens is that it's really heavy. That's the only thing. So I hope you enjoyed this video and that it helps you. Or if you want just to help us, you can sign up as our Patreon. Here is a link to our Patreon feed. We will put there a lot of other stuff than just the reviews. There will be also backstage from shootings, some raw files, etc, etc. So you can support us, so we can buy some coffee or new equipment into our small studio or anything else. So I hope you enjoyed it and that it helped